Hello everyone and welcome to lab number 9. In this lab I'm going to redistribute RIP inside OSPF. So we are going to work on the same scenario that we were working in the previous lab, but we will have to now redistribute the RIP routing protocol inside OSPF, so the routers which are in the OSPF areas can reach the network of RIP. Okay, here we have the 7 points here to follow for this lab. But before we start with the points, as always, let's go and see the scenario that we have, and then we will start doing point by point the lab. So here is our scenario. As you can see, we still have the same configuration that we had before, area 0 and area 1 and area 2. So all OSPF is already configured as it was. But what I've done here on router 2, I have added router 4 again. And between router 2 and router 4, I have enabled RIP. You can see here RIP is enabled. So it's already configured. Now, I'm not going to show you how we configured RIP because that's out of the scope from this course. But if you want to know more about RIP, I have another course also which is live. You can enroll there, and there is a really big section about RIP, and it has all details about how to configure RIP in MikroTik routers. Okay, so router 2 and router 4 are connected via the Ethernet 3 on router 2 and Ethernet 1 on router 4, and we configure the IP addresses and also RIP. And as well, router 4 has this bridge interface 44.44.44.44/24. That's also advertised inside RIP. Okay, so now router 2, to be able to reach that bridge interface of router 4, he will send it, or he get the route from the RIP routing protocol to be able to reach it. Okay, so what we need to do now, we need that all the other routers here, those routers of OSPF, all the routers of OSPF, router 2, router 3, 6 and 7, 5. So all those routers needs to be able to reach this network which is on RIP. So we'll have to see how we can do the redistribution to be able for the OSPF routers to be able to reach the networks which are advertised in the RIP routing protocol. So let's go now and see what we have to do in the first point. Point number 1. We are still using the same scenario of lab 8, but we have added router 4 and Ethernet 3 of router 2 to RIP. So all interfaces on router 4 are on RIP, and Ethernet 3 of router 2 is on RIP. Okay, point number 2. Check if router 2 can reach 44.44.44.44. Alright, let me just put the lab here, and then we go to router 2. From router 2, they are asking if we can reach the network 44.44.44.44, or the IP address. Before we do that, I just want to show you here inside RIP, here, routing RIP, we can see the route, and router 2 is learning from RIP how to reach the network 44.44.44.0, where the bridge interface belongs to. Okay, and if we go to IP route, we can see here that inside the routing table, router 2 knows how to reach from RIP. You can see DAR means RIP. He knows from RIP how to reach this network. Okay, now we have to ping it. So I'll just go to the terminal here. And from here I will say ping 44.44.44. And then here we go. We can see router 2 can ping the network of router 4. And that's because, if we go here again to the picture, because I have already enabled a RIP on this Ethernet 3, okay, and of course router 4 have RIP enabled on Ethernet 1 and on this network. Then in this case, router 4 is telling router 2 about this network because they are all configured having RIP routing protocol. Okay, so router 2 can reach it. That's very good. Now we have to see if the other routers on the OSPF areas can reach. Just to mention something, router 2 in this case will be the ASPR, okay, because he has one interface on RIP, he has one interface on RIP, and he has one interface which is Ethernet 1 on OSPF, and that's an autonomous system border router. Okay, all right, let's see what we have to do in the other points. So point number 2 is okay, we can reach it. Now, all routers in OSPF should be able to reach router 4, okay, router 4 networks. Redistribute RIP into OSPF as type 1. So, we need to be sure that they can reach all the networks of router 4, which are, we only have 2 networks. If we look here, we have, this is the first network, which is 172.16.24.0, and this is the second network. which is 44.44.44.0. So all the routers of OSPF should be able to reach those two networks which are in RIP. And to do that, we have to redistribute the RIP inside OSPF. So router 2 as an ASBR has to do redistribution of the routes learned from RIP inside OSPF. So the routers in OSPF can see them as external routes inside OSPF. Okay, so let's check how to do that. We go to router 2, and then from here I have to go to routing and to OSPF. Okay, and then from here we have to look to the RIP here. So redistribute RIP routes, and again they ask us to have it as type 1 or as type 2. Remember, type 1 they will add the cost, type 2 they will not add the cost. Okay, so the question was to add them as type 1. Okay, and now I will say okay. So point number 3 is done. Point number 4, check if all routers receive the proper routing from router 4. If not, fix the problem. Okay, now we go to router 1. And router 1, I have to go, well, first let's go to routing OSPF, and then here to the routes. That's okay. We can see that router 1 is receiving indeed 44.44.44.0, and it is external route type 1. That's what we wanted to have. We can also go on to check the IP routes here on router 1, and we can also see 44. Yeah, it is in the routing table over here. Okay, so router 1 now is knowing how to reach the network 44.44.44.0. Okay, now point number 4, they ask us check if all routers receive the proper routing from router 4. If not, fix the problem. So we've seen that the network 44.44.44.0 is known by router 1, and we will see also by other routers in the moment that it is known because it has been already redistributed inside OSPF. But there is also another network which we have on RIP. If we look here, we have this network 172.16.24.0, and that's also it's inside RIP, and really need also to redistribute it so all the routers will be able also to reach this network as well. Okay, so to do that, again I have to go to router 2, and then from here I will go to routing OSPF, and then from here instances I go inside. So we have advertised RIP as type 1, and we have to advertise the connected network, because if we look back to the graph here, the router 2 has this network is connected to its interface. So this network we need to advertise it as connected. I'll go here, and then we see we look to redistribute connected, and then we say yes as type 1 as well, and okay. So now I have redistributed also the connected network inside OSPF. So now we go to router 1, and then from here we go to routing OSPF, and then to routes, and now we can see indeed that 44.44.44.0 is shown, and 172.16.24.0 is also shown. This is the connected network. Both of them are external routes type 1. Okay, so up to now we have the point number 4 is okay. So check if all routers receive the proper routing from router 1. If not, fix the problem. So we fixed it by redistributing also the connected network. Now, can router 1 reach 44.44.44.44/24, and also router 4 can reach the bridge interface of router 1, which is 11.11.11.11. If not, what is the reason? So let's go to router 1 first, and from here I will go to the command line here. I say ping 44.44.44.44. Okay, and we can see we have a request timeout. But we look to the routing table here, and we see it is listed here. Also, we go to router 4. They ask us also to do the same. We ping the interface of router 1, the bridge interface of router 1. So 11.11.11.11. And also there is no route. So let me explain to you why it's not working yet. I will go here and open this again, and let me take out this. So what we have done up to now, we have just taken the RIP here, and we have redistributed inside OSPF. So OSPF can see all routes now of the RIP network. we did it from the ASPR router 2. Okay, so in this case, if router 1 is trying to reach the network, this network here, now he knows how to send his packet to here. Okay, he knows how to reach this network. But now the problem is that router 4 doesn't know how to reach back. When you do the ping, you have echo request and echo reply. So when the ping are coming from router 1 to router 4 or to this bridge interface, he can reach it. But router 4 doesn't know how to send the ping back, so you can see it like a reply in front of you, because router 4 in his routing table, he doesn't have anything listed how to reach router 1. For this reason, what we need to do, we have to make a redistribution, but this time it's the opposite way. So we made the redistribution of RIP inside OSPF. Now we need to make on this router 2 a redistribution of the network of OSPF inside RIP. So in this case, router 4 can know all the networks of OSPF, and he can see them as RIP now, because when you redistribute from one routing protocol to another, you are inserting the OSPF routes inside RIP, then the router which is on RIP, he will see them as RIP networks, because he doesn't understand OSPF, he doesn't have this routing protocol enabled. Okay, then in this case, router 4 will be able to see all the networks. So we see the bridge interface of router 1, the bridge interface of router 5, the network here, the network here. He will see everything we have in OSPF. Okay, so let's do that. So no, they cannot reach each other, and for what reason? Because we didn't redistribute yet the OSPF networks inside RIP. So fix the problem so router 1 can reach router 4 networks and vice versa. So before we do this, I just want to show you here, this is router 4 now, and if I go to IP routes, you can see that he doesn't know anything about other networks than the networks which are connected to him, the 44.44.44.0 and 172.16.24.0. That means that he cannot know how he can send the packet back to router 1 or to any other router on OSPF. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. Now we need to fix that. To fix it, we have to go to the ASPR, and that's router 2. Now, that's now router 2, the ASPR. And from the ASPR, I have to go to routing, and I have to go to RIP. Okay, so from here, I have to go inside RIP settings here. Okay, and now distribute default, and I would say, well, always or if installed. Let's put it always. Okay, you can put it if installed. So if the route is installed, you can redistribute it. If not, you don't. And then what you need to redistribute is OSPF. Okay, I'm saying here I want to redistribute OSPF routes inside RIP, so router 4 can know them. He can see them as RIP networks. Okay, and then I say apply and OK. Okay, and this is the ASPR. Let me go to router 4 now. And then from here I go to routing and I go to RIP, and now I go to routes. You can see before he didn't have any routes, but now you can see inside RIP he knows. Now you see 1, 33, 44, 55, all those are bridge interface of the router, 77. All the routes, let's say this is the summary address we made before. That's also from router 6. And from those all the links that we have inside the areas in OSPF. If I go now to IP route, you can see that he see all of those as RIP, because we have redistributed the OSPF to RIP, so he can see them as a RIP. DAR, dynamic active RIP. Okay, and again you can see that he has them now all in his routing table. Before he only had those two. Now after we redistribute the OSPF and RIP, he has all those networks inside his routing table. Let's see if the problem is being fixed now. Okay, we didn't finish yet, point number 6. So I go to router 1, and I will try now to ping again 44.44.44.44. And as you can see now, I'm able to ping the bridge interface of router 4. If I go to router 4 now, and I do the same, I will try to ping 11111111. He wasn't able to ping it before, and now we can see he's able to ping it. Okay, The other thing that they ask us to do, so let me first check this point here. So that is done. Now point number 7. Check if router 6 and router 7 can reach router 4 networks too. So router 6 and router 7, if you remember, if we look to the graph here, they are on different areas. Router 6 is on area 1 and router 7 is on area 2. So we want to check if also they can reach this network over here. Okay, so we want to ping from router 6 to this network and router 7 also. Now I'm inside router 6. I will go to terminal and then I will say ping 44.44.44.44. And indeed we are able to reach this network. Okay, that's really nice. We want to also check the routing table here. We can go to IP routes and we can see that 44 is listed there. And also 172.16 also is listed there. Okay, same for router 7. If you want, we can also check. Let's do it. I will ping 44, 44, 44, 44. And as you can see also, it's working. So with this point, we have just finished completely the lab of redistributing RIP inside OSPF and vice versa also. But also we've seen how to redistribute the connected network as well. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I see you in the upcoming lecture.